having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
Nicole, your backdrop is next level. I mean, that's just going to give me the energy to get me through this. I was laughing this morning when I put this green screen up. I have two things that are problems. I use my hands when I talk, which doesn't really work, and I've got like newscaster hair. So I don't know what to do.
I think you look fabulous, Kate.
I'm just going to go with it.
Wonderful to see you. Yeah,
exactly.
There's nothing to be done about
No,
the
there is
shape.
nothing to be done. No, yours looks amazing.
Oh, thank you.
How are you?
I'm doing really, really well. At this point in the cadence of things, I've got a product that's already launched. It's out there. The Super Bowl commercial has been trafficked. It's ready to go. I've got a war room set up that we're going to dive into on Sunday. And my team is just amazing and energized and ready to go. So I feel like we're kind of in the beginning of getting to the crescendo, and I'm pumped. I'm super excited.
I think everyone's feeling that way today. I mean, we're going into such a fun weekend. It's been a while since we've had this level of mass consumer joy and excitement.
I think there's something to that too. I heard a phrase earlier this week that I just really kind of captured so much of the truth of reality. It's called pandemic fine. Like, how are you outside of this amazing Super Bowl moment? I'm pandemic fine. I am safe.
True.
I have a job. Yeah.
It gives it some context. It sort of makes you think like, okay, I can be pandemic fine. Hopefully we can all be like, I don't think there's ever going to be like going backwards, but there's going to be a new normal where we all can find joy in every day.
Yes.
I really want to take a step back to the whole process of a product launch, because this is the first major new permanent flavor for Mountain Dew in over a decade. And so thinking about the fact that last year was sort of a wipeout for so many things in R&D, how far back are we going? Walk us through the process at PepsiCo to get this thing from an idea to an actual product on a shelf.
Yeah, so for something like this, you're right. It's the first perm flavor launch in the Mountain Dew portfolio in a decade, and that is huge, like a lot on the line. It's big for the business, it's big for the brand, and it takes a long time. For a flavor extension like this, it's about a year in development from the time you have the idea to the product's actually on the shelf. And, that was certainly challenged in 2020, just given the COVID environment and ensuring that our R&D team members could safely get into the lab and work on flavor combinations and things like that. But the whole thing is informed by a massive R&D capability that I genuinely just can't say enough about. I call them wizards often because the magic that they create is absolutely astounding. But they're on the forefront of flavor trends globally. PepsiCo is a global organization, so we've got footprints all around the world. And those flavor trends inform everything we do from an innovation standpoint. They're looking over the horizon. They're watching patents that come out. I mean, all kinds of amazing stuff to inform the flavors that are beginning to get mass popularity, flavors that are a little bit further over that horizon. So we'll start with, maybe the top 50 flavors that might make sense. And then, of course, you got to think through things like what's kind of having a moment, what's appropriate for Mountain Dew, because while something like turmeric might be having this big moment, turmeric Mountain Dew doesn't sound so great, right?
Maybe not yet.
No, not yet. Hey, and I will never say never, certainly not on this brand. But for us, it's about what's trending out there, what's having a moment, and then what's right for the business at scale. Because Mountain Dew, it's a big brand, and we need to make sure that the stuff that we're innovating has that kind of mass appeal, especially for a permanent flavor. We can get a little bit more wild with our LTOs, which are just meant to be a moment in time and can be sort of fun and surprising and crazy flavors. But with something permanent, it's got to have sticking power. And watermelon is just like one of those beautiful, heady, fun, carefree flavors that really resonated with people.
How much did the fan base of Mountain Dew have to say about this new flavor, Major Melon? Because you have a pretty rabid fan base for Mountain Dew.
We do. Rabid is kind of putting it mildly. I would say it's almost a cult-like following, and it is a singular joy to get to serve this fandom. It is so amazing. We have this kind of enviable ability to communicate directly with our most ardent fans. Now, of course, I spend a lot of time, maybe too much time, reading things like the Mountain Dew fandom Reddit threads and the Discord and all of that to just kind of peek behind the curtain and see what they're saying about us, the good, bad, and the ugly, let's be honest. But we are able to hop into conversations with those fans in almost real time using something called the green room, where we can just say, hey, we're thinking about these things. What do you think? And we'll get unvarnished feedback from the fandom. The thing that strikes me about the relationship that we have with these fans is that I kind of went in with a false supposition, which is that the people who are your biggest fans are to be coddled, and it's such a delicate relationship. And really the truth is quite the opposite. For people who are so invested in your brand, you have this very elastic relationship as long as you are kind of upfront and engaged with them. They want to see us succeed. They want to be part of creating that success. And if we're bringing them into the circle, bringing them under the tent, then like I said, they feel invested in that success, and they've been a part of it for, forever.
Well, being brought under the tent for something this major has to make them even more loyal and excited and engaged. I'm sure they're all starting to figure out how they're going to prepare for Sunday. And we'll get to the commercial in a second because I think it's exciting what you're doing. But I guess my question about a new flavor is, how does this play into that standard audience? Is this a new audience? Is it younger? Are you looking for, spreading the Mountain Dew love to a new base with different passion points? Or how does this fit into your product mix?
Yeah, I think it's got to do both, right? So everything we do needs to serve the core fandom. That's a must do for Mountain Dew. But with something like Major Melon, we're really opening a door to a new set of consumers who might not have considered Mountain Dew before, right? And melon is such a kind of unique, fun, and really truly delicious flavor that there are folks out there who, for whatever reason, just may not have ever heard of Mountain Dew. We've got these wildly
Who are
disparate
these people? They don't exist.
I would say the same. Especially, I'm married to a man who was born and raised in Tennessee, and that's like the home of Mountain Dew. I think literally part of his blood is just made up of Mountain Dew, based on the amount he's consumed throughout his entire life. But it's true. I mean, Mountain Dew has this sort of cryptic flavor profile. It's not entirely clear on the package what it might be. And what we do know is that younger consumers, especially, are seeking flavor variety. They're looking for new, fun stuff to try, and the hope is that watermelon could be that door that brings them into the Mountain Dew trademark. We've worked so hard to create this advantaged formula that really delivers on taste expectations. But beyond that, you can kind of see next to me here, the graphics are just so evocative and fun and really pull you into the world. It's more than just the liquid in the bottle. We've got to bring people in from the packaging, the cap color, and of course, all of the above the line comms that we invest in.
So you've come up with this new flavor. Fans are super excited. They're under the tent, and then we go into lockdown. How does the whole pandemic play into launch plans? How do you even launch a product at a time when you can't really sample? Is there something about the way that consumer behavior changed? I feel like this is going to be such a successful product launch in spite of, or maybe even because of, all that you knew about what was happening last year.
Yeah, we had begun the process of developing a new flavor, a new permanent flavor for Mountain Dew before the COVID crisis hit. And when it did, as I mentioned, we had very real challenges in terms of making sure our R&D teammates could safely go into the labs. And normally we'll do extensive testing on something like this, bringing consumers to a central location, sending samples to their homes for home use testing. And a lot of that was unavailable to us. And so there were some leaps of faith that were taken. There were lots of conversation that happened. And then we unlocked a couple of things that I think sort of helped to make this happen. One was a new direct-to-consumer sampling capability. And that's not really something that we had ever been able to do before. And sampling activities tended to be very expensive. You needed to be on site. Getting product to people's homes was very, very difficult to do and very expensive. And, I think I join hordes of people who are recognizing that for all of the difficulty that this crisis has unleashed, it has also opened up incredible doors of opportunity and innovation and forced businesses like ours to come up with novel solutions when our standard ways of doing business became out of reach to us. So that was a big part of it. But I also think there's a consumer behavior and an emotional reaction to a lot of this that in a lot of ways has made the need for innovation even greater from a business perspective. And this isn't just something that, we think about within PepsiCo, but I've had conversations with lots of our customer partners, and universally what they've told me is that innovation is driving tremendous incrementality across categories. I think there's a very real reason for this. When you look at what life was like, right? We'd have little joys, things to look forward to, going to the movies, going to your friend's house for poker night, having a glass of wine with the neighbors, going on a little ski vacation, all the things, right? That add up to
all of the things.
All the things. I miss so many of the things. Oh, yes. Date nights. Oh my God.
What is that?
I don't even know. But all of those individually, they seem small, but they collectively add up to, I think, a very real counterbalance to an emotional life that allows for small things to look forward to and smaller joys that bring relief from the difficulty that is just kind of existence. And when all of those evaporate, consumers still need that. They still need the small joys and the releases and something to look forward to. And the insight we found that I think is so critical right now is even something like a brand new flavor of soda brings a moment of joy and something new and unexpected and interesting to look forward to. And that is extraordinarily valuable, especially when it's coming from trusted brands that people feel like there's a low threshold of risk from an investment standpoint, both because it's a trusted brand and because the threshold for investment for buying CSDs is relatively low. And so, yeah, like I said, I think it has kind of made for very fertile ground for innovation across categories, and something that we'll certainly be continuing to watch as we swerve into whatever a post-pandemic world looks like. I wonder if a lot of those behaviors will continue to stick because of the joy they bring to people's lives.
And it's interesting to point out that as an established, trusted brand, being able to have a new flavor at this point in time, that was almost an advantage. You were capturing a consumer trend that the retailers at least have flagged, which is that the trusted brands is where the flood of consumer interest and purchasing went to the trusted brands on the shelves. So
yeah,
I'm sure that played into it. You talked a little bit about sampling and testing. Is that something that you feel like will change forever with product rollouts at Pepsi? I mean, was it something that was proprietary internally, or did you have a third party partner that helped you do the sampling? I'm just curious to know how much of that will stick.
I think we will not go permanently away from our bigger testing capabilities, because they do really give us tremendous insight into how consumers use our products. Because that's not only for things like new flavors, but think about like structural packaging changes and recycling behaviors, and all of that is connected to the physical human experience. So I don't think we'll see those things going away completely, but I do think that the opportunity to leverage first-party data to drive sampling within an organization, and particularly in a company like PepsiCo, where we have a huge variety of brands and have the ability to cross-promote where there is interest. I think that is a muscle that we are rapidly building, and one that we'll continue to invest in, both as we continue to gather first-party data and as we build the muscles to do something with that data. We already have made huge strides on that front from a media and analytics standpoint, and this sampling piece is yet another piece of that puzzle, where we're getting closer to our consumers, better understanding, again, how they're shopping and consuming cross-portfolio with us. And, from a Mountain Dew standpoint, it also unlocks a truly economical way to get product into people's hands, both the folks who are within the fandom and folks who maybe are sort of right outside and we want to bring them in. That delight factor has become a lot more accessible for us than it had been in the past, a lot more cost effective.
It's pretty interesting to think how directly connected you are to your consumers in a way that's very new, and it's all because of the digital world. You just have the ability to have this ongoing, intimate conversation with your fan base over time that informs decisions about new flavors, what you're going to do to market them, how you're going to talk to them. And we all know what's happening in the world of digital marketing, which is the third party, the cookies are going away, all the privacy laws. So it feels like you have a distinct advantage in the marketplace. It's exciting to hear more about.
Thank you.
All right, let's shift gears and talk a little bit about the Super Bowl, because a brand launch is one thing, but committing to a Super Bowl commercial is sort of next level. And I feel like this year, the Super Bowl has a slightly different feel. Marketers are shifting their tone. Consumers are still facing challenging times. We're all worn down by this year of social isolation. And even earlier this week, Vox Media's SB Nation sort of kicked off the week with this acknowledgement that the Super Bowl is going to feel different as a fan because we're so limited in the ways that we can be with friends and family in physical spaces, all of which sounds very Debbie Downer in this very like joyous discussion about Mountain Dew. But this moment actually in many ways presented a really great opportunity for Mountain Dew. So I'm curious to hear about how you guys are approaching the Super Bowl and the idea of doing a commercial.
Yeah, I think you can't overstate how the zeitgeist, for lack of a better word for it, impacts the way you think about these things. And, long before we settled on a concept for our Super Bowl commercial, we did a lot of research to understand how people expect or want brands like ours to show up. I think really owning and understanding the role of your brand in this cultural moment, in the cultural conversation, is so critical to getting this moment right. And for us, it's very, very clear that Mountain Dew is part of a cadre of brands that brings joy and levity to moments like this. I think one of the reasons we're all so excited about Super Bowl is that for a couple of hours on a Sunday night, the world is going to feel kind of normal. We might be with smaller groups of people in our homes. We might not be going to that big Super Bowl party. I'm going to be in a virtual war room with my team instead of, in person together. But that connectivity to something bigger than ourselves, and the feeling of embracing a tradition that is so much a part of the American experience, I think is joyful and is very exciting in times where everything else just sort of feels the same. I mean, everything just like day after day, and work and home and work. It's all really
all the same. I mean, you basically live at work now, right?
I know. We do, literally, a lot
exactly.
of us really do.
Exactly.
So yeah,
take me behind the scenes of making this commercial. I think for a lot of your peer marketing cadres who are listening to this conversation, hearing about maybe what you learned from doing a virtual shoot, which is not without its challenges, but a lot has changed that will not go back. I think that there's a level of efficiency, but talk a little bit about your commercial and that experience of making it.
Sure. I mean, I think the first thing that has to be considered is the commitment to a Super Bowl commercial is a massive investment, not just of money. Right? It's not just about the airtime, which we all know is like incredibly expensive, but it's also a huge investment of human capital and resources all around, because the process of creating and then actually standing up a Super Bowl commercial is not something that just stays within a brand team, right? These things are discussed at the CEO level and have to be thought of as part of a broader strategy across the corporation. And so that piece of it, I think, is a big thing to consider when you undertake this. And the responsibility of that, we all take very seriously. The way some of that comes into play is ensuring that you're leveraging the entire ecosystem of engagement rather than thinking about it as 30 seconds of communication time, right? It can't be that, given the level of investment required to do it really right. And it's one of the reasons that we partnered with John Cena on our concept, is because not only is he just like the perfect match for Mountain Dew, he's a man of action.
I mean, he's the perfect match. Let's talk about that for a few seconds here, because I mean, it's like the merging of two mass fan bases.
Yes, exactly. I have this, I have to show you this because I just got this yesterday. This is my custom Mountain Dew John Cena action figure.
Okay, you need to come closer to the camera because
see this?
That's really, really well done.
Right. The likeness is pretty spot on. And the shirt, this is the same pattern as the shirt he will be wearing in our game day spot. So super excited about that. I'm just going to hold John for the
Just
rest.
going to hold him right there, close to your heart.
He really was, he was a dream to work with. Just such a pro, such a genuinely nice human being, a self-professed fan of the brand, which is meaningful. It's meaningful when you have someone who really, really loves the product. I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but he drank almost all of the product we had on set for the entire shoot weekend and the first day. I was like, oh, are we gonna have enough? Oh goodness, what do we do about this?
Calling to get another like backup shipment in.
But we were shooting it like before the product was available just at the grocery store, right? So it was a complicated process.
Like, where are you going to get the back stock?
Totally. But, you know, wouldn't change that for the world because he has genuine passion for the product. Okay, I'm going to put it down now.
Yeah, exactly.
And the other thing that does, you know, kind of going back to this idea of getting the most value out of the investment is John's legacy with the WWE and the massive engaged fandom of the WWE is another open door. Right. So we're doing all kinds of fun stuff with a whole bunch of other talent with WWE, with Charlotte Flair and Otis and a whole bunch of the entertainers there to create content leading up to and then engage with them on game day. So it's, yeah, I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot. But he's been, like I said, just an awesome personality to work with. And as we look at, you know, how do we continue to get the value out of this, what you'll see in the mechanics around our spot is the leverage of Twitter. And, you know, we know that 93% of the conversations around Super Bowl are had on that platform. So super important that that's where we show up and show up big, so that we can be in the heart of it. And that, you know, all of the investments that we're making in lead up media through Snap and Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, all of that is intended to funnel toward Twitter, leveraging their like to notify capability and creating this kind of ready, set group of people who are anxiously awaiting our spot on Super Bowl Sunday. I think at this point we're at like 200,000 strong, maybe more since the last time I checked.
I think that piece of this has become such a powerful part. I mean, Super Bowl is like more than a day. It's more than a couple of hours. It's weeks and weeks and weeks of consumer engagement and interest, and how much interest you've already seeded in the commercial is, I mean, you just said 200,000 people are already chattering about this. The Twitter piece, I'm curious to hear more about that because it sounds like that's a new innovation in that partnership. What you guys
It is. Yeah. So we're working with Twitter using something called a conversation card, which allows users to very simply populate content into their own tweet to engage with the contest. We've got a whole bunch of different ways to do that. You can read all about it on lifechangingdo.com, where all the actual rules are. But we're lowering that barrier as much as humanly possible to make it really simple for people to engage with us. And when they do, they will get personalized responses based on their answer to us and be given 3 opportunities to get the answer right. And we're bringing John into a lot of that content as well. So it's going to be super fun. And the technology that enables that personalization is something custom that we built with Twitter. It's called an Autobot, which I can't say without thinking about Transformers. It makes me giggle every time, but that's what it's called, an Autobot. And it actually reads the content and the AI figures out what's happening there and then serves up the response to the fan who's engaging.
In real time.
In real time,
yeah.
Yes. And that's what the war room's for, right? Make sure all this incredible technology that we've built is
working.
Right. And exactly. And hopefully we're going to break the internet.
I mean, you're hoping for that, right? It's like Mountain Dew broke the internet on Super Bowl Sunday. For people who have not seen the teaser, talk to us about what the commercial is about, because it is more than just a commercial that you watch and enjoy. There's engagement. You're asked to do something.
Yes, you are. And I do think that this notion of using Super Bowl as a moment to drive action is going to become more and more what we start to see. But what we're doing, and John explains this beautifully in a PR announcement that he did for us this week, is you watch the spot and you have to count how many bottles of Mountain Dew Major Melon you see within the spot. And then you tweet, and there are some rules about the hashtags you have to include and all that stuff. You tweet that number, and the very first person to get the right answer wins $1 million. It's as simple as that. I'll tell you, I don't know how many bottles are in the spot,
I
right?
was going to say, is this a little bit like there's an accounting firm that has an envelope somewhere with a number in it? Like one person at the company knows the answer?
There is one person. That's hilarious. Yes, there is one person at PepsiCo who knows that number. And otherwise, all of that is being housed with a third-party security company that's making sure we're doing everything the right way. And Twitter's managing all the timestamp technology. So lots of innovation went into making something like this happen. It's not ever been done before. And that, I think, again, goes back to the brand DNA of Mountain Dew. We push boundaries, we break through barriers, we do new things. And for us, this was all done in the context of serving the consumer in this insane time and putting them at the heart of all of these plans.
So fun. So I'm just going to ask one more question because I feel like the idea of the virtual shoot, just going back to that for a second, and the time and attention and the human capital investment, you had talked a little bit when we were chatting earlier about the silver lining that came out of that, and maybe some changes in the way that even you train people in brand management on a team where maybe as a junior player, you would not be invited to fly to LA to go to a shoot and get to watch the process of what's happening. But I feel like there's something about I know from our business, Zoom has sort of democratized internal meetings because everyone gets the same size square, everyone has a face and a name, and it just allows a little bit of a flattening of the organization. So I feel like you mentioned the silver lining of what you learned about a photo shoot and maybe things that will continue on.
Yeah, I mean, you absolutely hit on it with this idea of democratization. When you have to make the investment to fly 12 people to a location for shoot, like that's begins to become untenable, particularly when you're looking at, doing the right things for the business. But in a virtual world, everyone gets to join the shoot. And that's even our most junior team members who otherwise would not have exposure, not only to the mechanics of a shoot, which is just endlessly fascinating to me and always has been, but also watching the dynamic between director and talent and agency and client and craft services, like all of the different pieces that go into actually making a shoot go, the creative decision making that has to happen in real time, the compromises that every party makes to get to an end product that everybody feels really, really great about. Being able to even just observe that dynamic early on in your career and having that be accessible to you, I think is a massive leap forward in how we educate our junior team members and help build stronger marketers for the future. It's just something that kind of the door is closed to you until the first time you get to go. And
so
then,
true.
Gosh, there's so much writing on it, right? Like,
right.
No pressure, but this huge shoot with lots of money and famous people around. So I'm excited to see, I think we will see a hybrid, right? Because there is nothing like the camaraderie on a shoot and sitting in Video Village together and, having these discussions and spending real quality time together as a team. I think that's so, so, so valuable and helps to build relationships within the team, but also with your agency partners, which are so critical to having, positive outcomes on that front. But the chance to open the door. And, for me, I was never able to fly to every single shoot. I just couldn't do it with my schedule. And now having the opportunity to be able to dip in when there's something critical happening or be able to go and actually see something and have a conversation with the director versus just having to kind of be outside and wait to see what happened, I think is extremely valuable. And I do hope to see it continue.
So we have just a few minutes left, and I'm encouraging everyone that has a question to please pop into the chat and ask any question of Nicole other than how many bottles are in the commercial, because
I don't know.
She doesn't actually know the answer to that, so she can't help you. Here's a question. What advice would you give to food and beverage companies that haven't been able to attend industry events such as expos and conferences to grow their brand?
I think things like brand innovators are so important to making connections in the industry. Not just hearing from people, but actually making those connections. I can tell you, like this year, I deliberately prioritized my life on LinkedIn. I have never been good at that stuff, just never been good at it. And I made a point I have it like behind the scenes on here. I have a calendar hold twice a week, early in the morning, that says social media homework. And it means get in
For
there,
you.
behave in the world, connect with people. And, I can speak to this personally. I don't know if this is true industry wide, but I love hearing from people in the industry who have ideas to share or want to learn more about what we're doing, whatever it is, and have an open door on that front. I think it's so important. So those industry groups, get out there, make friends. We're all hopefully looking to learn from each other.
And everyone right now is in virtual friendship. So it's not you're right. There was a pre-pandemic, you would get to your LinkedIn, but sometimes you forgot to update it and you weren't necessarily remembering to post stuff. But ultimately it is a community and there's a lot of people, a lot of ways to connect there.
Yeah.
I've tried to get better at that too. I know I reached out to you, was like, Nicole, we've met before, but somehow we're connected on LinkedIn. So I'm trying to be better about that myself as well.
Yeah.
I have two questions for you. Oh, wait, here's one more question from out in the world. Nicole, I would love to know more about how you got your start and your journey to PepsiCo. This is an interesting story. So
Sure. I'll try and make it quick because it was a long, meandering journey. I started out as an actor. I went to school for theater and philosophy, and that's what I thought I was going to do with myself. Moved to New York, really was not happy pursuing life as an actor, though I did pretty well. And I started working as a project manager for a design recruiter, and it opened my eyes to the fact that you can merge art and science, and make a career out of it. And that it wasn't just about being the creator of the art, but there was a whole business built around it. And it's one of the things that keeps me very, very involved in early life education for children, in helping them understand all of the different ways they can lean into their gifts and interests to build a life, because I didn't really know that when I was younger. And marketing turns out to have been the beautiful combination of the artistic and the analytical and the mathematical, and the innovative thinking, that tends to dominate my brain. So I went from doing that. I sold local radio out in California for a little while and found that I loved not just putting together the ad schedule, but also writing the spots and voicing the spots, and then eventually sitting down with the business owner and helping them map out their full marketing strategy. I went and worked on the agency side for a while. I was at Universal McCann for a number of years in the spirits business. Then I went to work at a smaller agency running the Grey Goose business. And then I went to work for Tito's, the vodka company down in Texas. And I was the CMO there for about 9 years.
And you lived in Austin for 9 years.
I did. I lived there for 10 years. I actually
10 years.
I kept my New York job and flew back and forth. And the work was great, but the life was miserable. And my husband and I were like, he's a touring musician. So I would get home like late Thursday night and he would leave Friday evening to go on tour and not come back until Sunday night. It was just terrible. And then, Tito's was the gift of a lifetime. What an extraordinary experience I was the entire marketing department when I started working there. And I had to build the capability, had to build a brand that already had a tremendous start. Don't get me wrong. But it allowed me to very fully craft my perspective on brand marketing in a way that I don't think would have been possible had I not been offered such a white space opportunity. And so that was, like I said, just an absolutely incredible journey. And one of the things that made and continues to make that brand so successful is the relationship that it has with its fans. We put that at the heart of everything we do. And, I think you can see that trend through my career. I am a fan-centric marketer. That's what I do. I love people. I love talking to them, learning from them, all that stuff. And then when PepsiCo approached me with this opportunity to come and work on a beloved brand that is extraordinarily special, that has this rabid fandom, but really needed a little TLC and a little rethinking to modernize it, I was just beside myself with the opportunity. Like, what an incredible chance to come and be a part of something massive like this, with this cult brand, this icon brand, and be a part of positive change. So I said yes. But yeah, it's been, I won't say entirely circuitous, but
no, I love like the beginning to the end. And you're right, the idea of recognizing that you can lean into your your passions and skills, and there's a career that you might not have considered.
Yeah.
I mean, no one tells us when we're in 8th grade that marketing is even an industry.
No, I was like, I either have to be on the stage, be a stage manager,
Right.
be a Supreme Court justice, or an astronaut. That was my
Right, exactly. Or a gymnast. I don't know why I thought that that was a legitimate career. I mean,
for
all the
very,
reasons.
very few people.
Yeah, very few people. Exactly. It looks like Steve has joined us, but I had one last question, which is, who do you have for Sunday's game?
Oh man, oh, this is so tough. I'm pretending that it's tough because I do know who I have, but it's maybe not for all the same reasons. I would love to see Tom Brady win again. And the reason for that is that he has defied all expectations and pushed athleticism to a point where I just don't think anyone thought possible. And I find that endlessly fascinating. I've read a lot about his nutrition and training methods and the kind of person he is and how he's pushed himself to this place. So for me, it's really just about like, can he actually do it again? And if he does, I think I just will be so surprised. But watching the matchup between what feels like the kind of old guard, the GOAT, who's got to be
it's true.
The new generation who is surprising and explosive and so fun to watch. No matter what happens, it's going to be an amazing game.
I'm with you. I'm going for Tom Brady. I love the fact that his teammates call him Old Head. And apparently we're all supposed to get on our foam roller. That's what I learned in the earlier session is there's a lot of foam rolling that needs to happen.
I'll get mine out. I have one.
Exactly.
I'll be right there with you.
Well, thank you, Nicole. This was fantastic and really fun. And I will be paying attention on Sunday. And I'm going to attempt to count the number of bottles and win $1 million.
Thank you, Kate. I really appreciate the opportunity. This has been so great.
Thanks,
Thank
Steve.
you, Kate and Nicole. That was great. You both inspired me to update my background.